which are the main key points and steps for you when creating a cocktail. Okay, so first of all, what I think when I'm creating my own cocktail, I will choose my base spirits, what my liqueurs, and then what my liqueurs. Okay, so first of all, the base spirit is the main flavor I want to get to my cocktail to balance with the next ingredients, fresh ingredients and liqueur I'll be choosing. A liqueur or not, depends on the way and the type of the cocktail and the final result you want to achieve, okay? But first of all, which base spirits? My whiskey, vodka, tequila, gin, which are the main base spirits I'll be choosing. Normally the base spirits, the higher alcohol content. Normally it's between 35 to 40% alcohol by volume. And then after that, I'll be choosing my second option to really balance and bring more flavor to my cocktail. Do I want to choose a liqueur? So that's why if I chose, for example, gin, what goes well with gin for my next step before I choose my fresh ingredients? Do I want to get a very flavorful liqueur, melon liqueur? Do I want to get an apricot liqueur? So choose your fruit depending and according with the final results you want to get, okay? Second, I will choose my base. So if I chose, for example, tequila, okay? So what can go well with tequila? And then I will choose my liqueur if I want to use a liqueur. After that, I will start thinking about the fresh ingredients, okay? And accentuation as well. So if I'm using tequila as a base, and tequila is made from agave, okay, that you guys will be learning everything. So why not using agave syrup instead of sugar syrup, for example, simple syrup? And then the agave syrup will enhance even more the spirits, the main base spirits I'll be choosing. After that, I'll be choosing my fresh ingredients. So which fresh ingredients goes well to bring the final harmony to my cocktail? Because it's a game, right? When you first think on the cocktail recipe you want to make, and then you need to start using the right radius and the right measurements to get a very well balanced cocktail for you according to your result. If you want a sweet cocktail, if you want a sour, a boozy cocktail, everything matters, okay? So when you choose your fresh ingredients, try to check on seasonal ingredients, okay? Fresh herbs, fresh spices, and fresh sweeteners, fresh fruits, okay? Everything, when you're looking for seasonal ingredients, everyone are talking about, all the bartenders, and it's easier to find, easier to, even cheaper to buy and to use to your cocktails. After choosing your fresh ingredients, it's time to start what we'll be using as a ratio, okay, measurement. So to get a well-balanced cocktail, you need to take careful of your measurements, not to overpower all the ingredients, and to get a nice final result, okay? So I normally start looking into my base spirits, like the maximum as I can do. I normally do between 45 mils to 60 mils of my base spirits. After I choose my liqueur. So I'll be using around maybe probably between 10, 15 or 20 mils, depending on how much I'll be matching well with my base spirits. After that, I'll be trying to use and choose my fresh ingredients. So I want a flavor. So am I making a cocktail that involves solid fruits, solid condiments inside my shaker? Okay, so if I'm using that instead of a liquid like a puree or a juice or a liqueur from like strawberry, for example, depends a lot on which bar to you be using and the method and techniques you be applying of. So after choosing all these ingredients, the base spirits, your liqueur, and then your fresh ingredients, it's time to know your measurements, and then it's time to start thinking about which bar tools you'll be using. Okay, so for example, let's suppose if I want to make a shaken cocktail. Okay, so I want to make a shaken cocktail. Do I want to use my cobbler shaker, or do I want to use my Boston shaker? Okay, I want to use my Boston shaker. So while I am making my cocktail, it's always good for you to keep chill. You'll see in the next videos and you watch the next videos that I won't be using much this mini thing on top of my stainless steel shaker, but it's very good. It means that my ice is just inside my shaker the bottle, and while I'm making my cocktail, I'm getting my cocktail, my liquid chill, well chilled as well, will be cold, and then I will shake it together with my ice to get a very final result. Same as the glassware, need to be always with ice on there to be well chilled, and then when you pour your drink, your glass will really maintain this cold temperature for your cocktail. So talking about temperature, it's something very important to analyze as well. Do I want to make a cocktail that will be frozen, a frozen cocktail, will be hot cocktail, will be my final result to be a cold cocktail? So it's all about which temperature we'll be choosing, which texture. Do I want to make a smooth cocktail? Do I want to make a dry cocktail? Do I want to make a very easy, light-bodied cocktail, very like refreshing and easy to drink? It's all the main keynotes you'll be analyzing and choosing to get the final result. Okay, all these main notes you can find after you're making, creating, trying, and tasting your cocktail. Okay, so there's just few tips for you to start. So if I'm making like a shaken cocktail, all right. So again, I chose my shaken cocktail. Remember, when you finish your shaken cocktail, what's the most appropriated tool to use after that? My julep strainer or my Hawthorne strainer, probably my Hawthorne strainer. Okay, because when I'm using my Hawthorne strainer, do I want to pour this cocktail over ice in a rocks glass? What's more appropriated for this cocktail? In a coupe glass, in a wine glass, over ice, without ice, straight up. So it all matters. You need to analyze what's the final result you want to make. And if you want to make, for example, a sour cocktail, a spritz cocktail, if you want to make like a straight up cocktail again, so you need to always analyze all these factors. Okay, so the bar tools, first of all, choosing your ingredients and your spirits, and then you analyze which bar tool you'll be using, which technique we'll be using. It'll be like a stirred cocktail maybe, so you need to use a julep strainer. Okay, stir cocktail. Okay, you need to analyze. If I'm making a stir cocktail, I'm not gonna use any puree or any fresh fruits, fresh juices, solid condiments. It's all about liquids inside. Normally they are booze cocktails. When you're making like a stirred cocktail, they are very complex in flavor, coming from the spirits or in liqueurs we're using, but not that complex flavor, and different actually flavors and notes when you're making a shaking cocktail. So it all matters that after that glassware, which glassware is more appropriated for your glass accordingly with which ingredients you're using, okay, in general, right? And then it's always good to analyze what you want to use as a garnish, as the final touch. Sometimes one garnish can really enliven your cocktail, can really enhance your cocktail. Not about only presentation, but when you bring the visual effects. So let's suppose I finish my cocktail and I want to use orange oil, for example. Okay, so the orange oil will be like a perfume to really bring this aphrodisiac and very nice aroma to your cocktail as a final touch. Okay, and then you can do a nice shape with using your bar tools to grab and to do something different with the orange peel. Or sometimes you're using cinnamon. So if you're using cinnamon to finalize and you want to bring more aroma, visual effects, presentation to entertain your guests, to entertain someone you're making the cocktail for, or creating, or even for yourself, use your blowtorch, and then you come and then use a blowtorch to really bring this extra aroma and visual effect in your cinnamon. So all of this matters, because the full experience of creating a cocktail will be thinking on your final result. When your cocktail is ready to go, you grab your cocktail, you feel the aroma first, you look the cocktail, okay, it calls your attention, and then you feel the aroma, you first sip, you feel all the complexity going on inside in your mouth feel. So it all matters. Okay, so ice, it's another very important step and key point for you when making a cocktail. Okay, because ice, the quality of ice will matters. If it's a very like well made ice, for example, like crystal clear ices, or the quality of ice you're using to shake or to stir your cocktail, they are very important, because we're talking about dilution. When we talk about dilution, remember when making a cocktail, you need to add this extra amount of water coming from the dilution when you're shaking a cocktail, when you're stirring a cocktail, even building a cocktail to keep your glass like well chilled, and your mojito, for example, when a cocktail is built. So the ice matters a lot because dilution will bring sometimes the perfect balance between the ingredients you chose, and will really enhance the flavors coming from these different ingredients. Water is something sacred, and really helps everything in this beverage world when talking about really creating these cocktails. That's why ice is very important most of time to make probably most of the cocktails, except in these hot and warm cocktails we see in the market, okay, like hot toddy, for example. Cool. So there are these main steps for you to do step by step in using the right methods, because it's like a game, it's playing a game. After you chose all your ingredients, you chose your measurements, you chose your bar tools, your glassware, your garnish, how you finish, okay, like you do like a spray on top to bring even more aroma to balance well with bitters. You do like just a drop on top of your cocktail, okay, so to really and leave even more and bring more visual effects, aroma and flavor to your cocktail. So you'll be using bitters to balance as well. So it's all about a game that the final result you want to bring this harmony and this balance between all the ingredients you chose. After that, you're done with everything you spoke here, all your measurements, and always keep taking notes, okay? And you're always using fresh ingredients, quality ingredients, and really knowing before you create this cocktail, because you're not just trying, you know at least what goes well with what. This is very important, which fruit goes well, which ingredients, which flavors, which aroma goes well with each one, and then you start to make. Just don't start making any cocktail, create a cocktail like from zero, just trying to match ingredients that you don't even know the flavor affinities. Sometimes you need to avoid some ingredients together because they really don't go well together. That's why I recommend you looking into the mixology tool I have created for you to make and create your own cocktails, okay? So get a knowledge experience first, and then you are in the right place to learn and know about it, and you're gonna become an expert about creating your own cocktails with me, okay, with the Golden Era of Bartending 2022. Cool. So it's a game, and then final result. Okay, I'm trying my cocktail. It's missing something. Maybe it's missing a little bit of sweetness to balance with the citrus. It's too like citrus. It's too bitter or it's too spicy. Maybe I'll bring something sweet to balance. So it's all about a little bit more measurements there with your sweetness, using, for example, as we mentioned in the beginning, the agave syrup, and then you do a little bit of agave syrup to really enhance and bring more balance to your cocktail that was too sour, too bitter, okay, too spicy, and then you keep playing until you get the final balance that you were really seeking for, okay? Finished your cocktail, try to get different opinions, okay? So ask someone to try, to see what they think, which notes they feel, because you wrote your notes, you created this cocktail, but get different opinions from that, okay? At the normally the final, when I leave this just for the final edition, right, of my cocktail. When I finalized my cocktail, I need to give a name. Most of the time, need to give a name. So the name comes from maybe the ingredients you use, the history behind the bottle, okay, a specific way you shake it, something. There can be a lot of things. Use your creativity from that, okay? So the history, the place it's coming from, that specific beverage you used, that specific fruit, specific herb. So what was the final result, what you feel from that, you can get ideas from the notes. So it's all there for you to start playing with the names. Don't go too complex, okay? Try to fit a very matchable name with that. Sometimes you can get like names that you didn't even expect. So that's pretty much it, guys. It's all very well detailed for you in the PDF material for you to have a look when creating a cocktail if you need this support material. This was just a video for you to get this idea and to really get this visual here about everything, all the products I normally use to create a cocktail. And I wish you very good luck to get the well-balanced cocktail, delicious cocktails. And you'll be learning a lot about balancing different ingredients. Each cocktail I have created, and even the classic cocktail videos, I'll be explaining why I'm using that ingredients, why did I pick this different beverages that goes very well, and I explain about the notes. So it's all about getting more knowledge, understanding your product, understanding each bottle, what ingredients goes in this bottle of tequila, this bottle of vodka, this bottle of whiskey, the liqueur, the flavor affinities that goes well together. And then you follow all these steps to start really developing your skills and becoming a high demand bartender, okay, and successful as well.